Hello, everybody. Welcome to season one, episode one of the VisioNuri Podcast. We're so excited you guys could be here today. It's a big day. It's been a long time coming. I am joined today with Miss Juliette Nelson, also my boss, my CEO, and now Dr. Juliette Nelson. Thanks for being here, Juliette.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for having me. I'm super excited about this podcast. As you said, it's been a long time coming. It's quite perhaps a unique way for us to kind of engage with our customers, our followers, and those who support us. So we are super, super, super excited to embark on this journey with you. And might I add, Happy Haitian Heritage Month. It's a big month for us. We are both proud Haitian Americans, and we are rocking our 1804 frames that were named after home. So shout out to all of our Haitians. Shout out to the diaspora, everyone back home. And we definitely are very proud of how far we've come as a culture, as a nation, in spite of all of the challenges that we've had to overcome throughout the years.
Yeah.
So yes, we're on this new journey of being podcasters, which is a little bit of a different world from us, being in behind the scenes and running a business and so on and so forth. So what we definitely want to start with first is introducing ourselves. So I'll let you go first,
All
Carl.
right.
Who is Carl? What does he do? And what does he do for
Great
Nurilens?
question. I have a background in ophthalmology. I'm a certified optical technician. I also assist with ophthalmology surgeries as well. So, I have just an interest with eyes in general. Juliet is very good with making sure the people she hires in her companies they fit long term. And what I do for Nurilens, I am the programs manager as well as the optical manager, and I help with making sure prescriptions are correct when you guys buy your glasses, verifying that, checking PD, checking the cylinder, the axis, the lens type, progressive, the add all that fun stuff that no one really cares about. Carl takes care of that. If you ever have any issues with your frames, I'm also probably the guy at the back fixing them, tightening screws, things like that. So, Juliet, she kind of uses me for other things as well here and there, but for the most part, I like to stick to the glasses. What about you, Juliet?
Well, in my terms, I call it Carl supports and helps develop the strategic vision and direction of the company.
Yeah,
But he didn't want to say it that way, so I'm gonna say it for him.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm Juliette Nelson. I founded the company, I want to say a year and a half ago. Um, I have zero background in the optical world. I'm actually an industrial and organizational psychology practitioner. Um, and I'm an educator, I'm a published author. And we'll talk a little bit more about the story behind Nurilens and how it came to be. But, I, for the most part, drive the strategic vision of the company. Um, I usually sleep one eye open, one eye closed, with all of my crazy ideas in terms of how we can grow the company, how we can ensure that the experience is um, awesome for our customers, to ensure that we're also meeting everyone where they're at. Also, I work with different team members. We have a phenomenal group that helps, Nurilens be what you see. So it's not just Carl and myself, but we have people in brand and social, and so on and so forth that really help drive some of our initiatives. So I would be remiss if I didn't give them a shout out as well. But that's very much what I do. My affiliation with it is more first and foremost my identification of the need, because I also wear glasses, prescription glasses, and I'm an avid eyewear collector, I would say. I love funky, cool, bold eyewear. So again, we'll talk a little bit later about it, but that's kind of where it came out of, and that's what I do.
Thanks. So I know Nurilens has been out for about like a year and some change now. This podcast is very new, and I know we wanted to do this for a while now. We're finally getting to it, thankfully. All good things come in time. Um, yeah. So, what do you think? Like, what is the purpose of this podcast? Like, how do you feel like this will help our listeners, help our customers? How do you feel like we fit in?
So I think one thing, and this is a conversation we've had on our weekly calls, right? Where when we're filling prescriptions, when we're looking at, the design of the frames, when we're dissecting the lenses and the features and everything like that, and looking at all those nitty gritty
Yeah.
details, we always constantly fall back on some of these eye health topics and factors and issues and challenges that sometimes the everyday person doesn't think about, right? And the topics are endless. I know one big thing, in honor of Haitian Heritage Month, we know that Haitian folks can cook some rice, okay? Among all the
Yeah.
others, right? We're very good cooks. Our cuisine is exquisite. But even thinking about that, I don't think we really keep in mind about the fact that, when our mothers are cooking on the hot stove, frying meat, or cooking bean stew and so on and so forth, how potentially dangerous it can be if oil splatters out of the pan, or if they're, when you're making sauce pois, which is bean stew,
Mhm.
you're blending some of the broth in the blender. If it's too hot and that splashes out, that can potentially blind you. And going beyond that, I mean, if you're working on your car, if you're cutting the grass, and then going into the workplace where we spend hours in front of a screen, whether you work in an office setting, whether you work in a hospital, you're at a school, whatever the case may be. So I think it was just this identification of all these things that we really don't pay attention to, and how much more space there is for us to be a little bit more aware of information that helps us to make better decisions about our eye health. And I personally, as the owner of the company, I'm very passionate about not only just getting a good product out, but giving people the information that helps them to make informed decisions, right? That empowers them a little bit. And that's my life's work, creating safe spaces and empowering people to be their best selves. So part of that is really giving people the information they need to make these decisions that will protect their eye health. And I think that's kind of what led us into this podcast, having conversations with everyday people, bringing in professionals in the optical field, in ophthalmology, in opticianry, and so on and so forth, that could also provide their insight. And when we talk about, being a visionary, right, as our podcast is called VisioNuri, that includes perspectives from different people, how people look through their different lenses as it relates to eye health. And that's what we really want to bring on this podcast. So yeah, that's really what people can expect. These everyday conversations that we really don't really think about. And again, I didn't start off in the optical field. So while Karl and I are both in the field of STEM and we approach a lot of stuff scientifically, which makes it challenging sometimes for us to put these blogs out because we're out here trying to write in
No,
APA format and
100%.
so on
No,
and so forth.
100%.
I mean, but all to say, we are still everyday people. We know what these different challenges look like. And so the goal is to really connect with the everyday person, the person who's cutting the grass, or cooking, or in the office, or whatever the case may be.
Or
So
just
yeah,
sitting watching TV all day. That person too. Yeah.
that's another
No,
one. That's
100%.
another one. I just started watching. What was it? Inventing Anna, by the way.
Okay.
And that it's on Netflix, but
You know I
it's
don't
a
watch TV,
pretty,
Juliette. You know that.
it's a solid
I
watch.
still
But
have
I
like
mean, even
5 shows that you've told me to watch that I have not.
and you haven't started any of them. But I mean, if we tie it back to vision health, you spending all these hours in front of a
Yeah.
screen, these are the conversations we need to be having.
No,
But
100%. I agree. I think you explained that really well. Coming from like the optical side, you see a lot of times where people kind of take their vision for granted, and they'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh my God!" Like all of a sudden, my vision in my right eye just went black, and it's like, how long have you had that contact in? 3 months? Well, that was only supposed to be in there a week, you know, and it's all people, whether your vision's 20/20 or you can barely see your friend in front of you. Like your vision's important to the quality of your life. So
I was actually I went to a fun and games night
yeah,
yesterday, and they brought out the double dutch ropes. And kids in this generation, I don't know that they know much about the double dutch, but it's two ropes and you're turning them
I was never
in.
good enough for it, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was a pro. And I think when you get older, your feet hit the floor, but they're not picking back up. So that was it. I got in, but I couldn't pick my feet back up. But it got to a point, of course, when you're playing double dutch, you can't have too much weight on you. So people take off shoes, you got to take keys out your pocket or whatever. And I attempted to take off my glasses,
Yeah,
and put them to the
yeah.
side. And I'm literally squinting and I can't
You
see.
can't time the entrance.
And everyone's like, and I tried to go in and they're like, girl, you didn't make it in. Just go back and put your
You
glasses
see, that
on.
was me, and I could see. I just could never time the entrance like that. There's just too much going on.
It's a science behind it. It's a science behind it. But I mean that's even one thing. And I know when I was a kid, we played with cables.
Cables.
The ropes that we had yesterday were very safe, yeah. But we walked around with battle scars. Yeah, we played with like
So you had to
cables.
be good. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah, and because they hit the floor and
Yeah.
you hear hit the floor, and if you get hit in the face, yeah,
All right. Well,
it's
that'll
tragic.
teach you.
Anyway,
All right. So
all right. So yeah, those are the things that people can expect from the podcast.
yeah. So one of the segments we wanted to do was called "Who's Wearing What." For this segment, we're going to mention we already picked a character from a show, a TV, whatever, some celebrity, whatever, and we've decided separately what Nurilens frames we think this person would wear. So for the first episode, we had chosen SpongeBob. I'll let you go first, Juliette. What pair of frames do you think SpongeBob would wear?
I feel like SpongeBob will be in some New Yorks.
New
In
York.
his pineapple under the sea.
Okay.
In the New York frame.
The New York.
I don't even have him in front of me. Do you have him?
Of course I got.
I mean, he's think of SpongeBob's shape.
Mm-hmm. He's a square.
A square or a rectangle.
Okay. Yeah.
Gun, is that what they call the four-sided figures in
Yeah,
geometry?
close enough. Yeah. Let's go with that. Yeah.
It's not is it a parallelogram? I think it's a parallelogram.
Sure. That's a
I'm
slant
so
though.
ashamed. Is it? It can't be straight.
Nah, I don't believe so.
To my math teachers from elementary to high school,
Geometry was a long time ago.
it was a long time ago. That was ages ago. But those are the New Yorks, and I feel like with SpongeBob's shape, I think the New Yorks would go with him. And I mean, he's SpongeBob. Look at his swag.
You think he belongs in the bright lights of New York City?
Belongs. Think about it, like him in his like square rectangle shape, putting a pair of like square-ish rectangle-ish frames on.
Okay.
I think it would be dope on him.
I mean, I think that's a good pick. I think that's a good pick. I think that's a solid pick.
It's our bold pair.
They are. He's a character. Yeah, he has a bold personality.
He's a trendsetter, showstopper, all of that.
Showstopper. Ooh, SpongeBob the showstopper. Okay. Well, similar to you, I kind of went with like the rectangular shape, but I had chosen the Kairos.
I see
You
it.
know, because if you ever seen SpongeBob, he got his little shirt and tie. You know what I'm saying? He got his pants, his belt tight. You know, he's a sharp guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a sharp guy. But also, I do remember an episode. There's an episode. I don't know if you remember this episode where Doodle Bob shows up, right? And Doodle Bob was like a menace, it's like SpongeBob's alter ego. So it's like two sides. You know what I'm saying? You know? Yeah. There it goes.
Okay.
That was my thought process behind
You
it.
put some thought
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that.
yeah. You know, SpongeBob. Me and SpongeBob go way back. You know, so I asked him. Really? He told me this himself.
He told you this himself.
He picked. He picked.
Okay.
He was like, those Kairos, those are the ones.
Wow. So he was part of the board of you
Mm-hmm.
deciding that you
So
were
I
going to give him
got,
some career.
yeah,
Called him up. He has your
of
number.
course.
Wow. In 2022. All right.
Come
I
on,
see you.
come on, Juliette. You just want to go way back. Go way
Okay.
back.
I mean, I do see it though. I think what came to mind, I think with his color,
hmm
I think the Kairos go well with his.
His complexion, okay. Skin tone, the melanin. I like. You see, you're taking this somewhere. Okay.
What I
Okay.
saw. That's what
Mm,
came to mind when you pulled up the Kairos.
okay. No, I see that. I mean, thank you for giving me more points. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I really thought that the New Yorks were going to gather up the points,
I mean, we'll
but
see. Actually, we can run a poll. We can run a poll. We'll put this on the Instagram, and maybe we'll have you guys vote to see which ones you think are more. Also, you can check yourself if you guys feel like maybe he needs to be wearing some Louis or some what cities, whatever you think. But honestly, I know from a source he's going with the Kairos. Um, but
I'm so mad at you. Anyway, all right. So now for our next segment, and our topic of the day. How did Nurilens come about? And I guess this is the part where I tell the
that's
story.
yeah, that's an answer for you. Yeah.
Yeah, Nurilens. It's been a journey. So almost 10 years. We're in 2012. We're not in 2012. That's when I went to Korea. We are in 2022. So around 10 years ago, it's going to be 10 years. I actually traveled to South Korea to work as an English teacher. And I remember my first time walking into, I noticed that people had they had the big frames, they had them in different colors, they had them in different shapes and sizes. And I'm coming from, we came from the same, I would say, county, or just really like closed town where everyone's just, I don't want to call it normal, but you don't see the big funky styles and whatever.
Yeah,
Everyone's just
100%.
very status quo in a sense.
hmm
So going to South Korea, I'm like, oh wow, I'm introduced to this world that's like, people are just very colorful in how they express themselves and their style and so on and so forth. So when I walked into the into the optical shop, for the first time, there was this large array of frames, and when I asked them for the price, they were like, oh, it costs, I don't know, $20-$30, and that includes the prescription. And I'm like, really? So I bought one pair, and then that led to me buying another, and that led to me buying another, and all of a sudden, like, I had a collection. And I have a thing when I there are certain like trinkets or unique things that when I like it, I have to start collecting them for some reason.
hmm
So that was one of the things that I started collecting, different colors, different shapes. I was able to match them with my outfits, different outfits at the time, and now I'm able to match it with my hair. So more than likely, you will often find me in a pair of silver oak Louis now because of my hair color. But also say that's where it started. Um, Also, I think that's where I also really found my purpose.
Yeah.
That was where the redefinition of Juliette happened. This was my first home out of my parents' home. So I was really able to define who I was, what I liked, what I disliked, and also who I wanted to be and how I wanted to step out into the world. So in my last couple of weeks there, my pastor, who was also the director of my school, he gave me the Korean name Nanuri, which is a spin-off of the Korean verb nanuda, which means to share. And he commissioned me to share my gift wherever I would go. And so when I came back to the States, in really continuing to go on this journey of better understanding my purpose, better understanding what I was called on this earth to do, how I was called to make an impact, I formed my first company, VisioNuri. And I remember the first, one of the first things I said, I was like, God, the next pair of glasses I buy has to be one I design. And
Okay.
it's so ironic because my first logo, if anyone remembers Junuri's first logo, it's a pair of like blinged out glasses that says Junuri over it. So people always thought that I was selling eyewear, and I'm like, no, I'm offering tutoring services. and professional services. And eventually, I ended up changing it to what we know now.
Yeah.
But perhaps that was kind of like the seeds, some of the seeds that were planting and harvesting, being planted and harvested, and so on and so forth. And then sometime after that, I was purchasing a gift for a gamer. And I was purchasing a pair of glasses for them. And what I noticed is that gamers, they wear blue light blocking lenses because they spend hours upon hours upon hours in front of a screen.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, in Junuri, I'm serving students and professionals. So this would be great for them because, hey, like for myself, a professional, I'll spend 10, 12 hours in front of a screen.
Yep.
And it's not just my computer screen. I'm on my computer screen. And I have like two other monitors,
Yeah, me
two
too.
huge monitors in addition to my laptop. And then I have my phone. And then, sometimes you want to relax, you watch TV. So with all of those different factors, I'm like, there's value for professionals, there's value for students. And I networked with some of my friends who are professionals in different fields, whether it was medical, whether it was in a lab, whether it was in a classroom, wherever it was. And, we found that no matter what, there's some kind of overconsumption of screen time, depending on the field that you're working in. So I think that kind of started, helped pick up momentum of, developing sketches, moving into a prototype. I don't know how I fell into the wood idea. I think it was just me trying to be unique and finding something that was not the standard of what we saw. And me, it's not me trying to make things difficult, but if you give me a mouse, I'm gonna be like, how could we make this different? And so I think that probably came out of that. And ironically, with wood, it means it's symbolic. It has some kind of spiritual significance for evolution, of knowledge, of growth, of wisdom, and so on and so forth. So it really ties back into discovering your purpose, sharing your lens, sharing your perspective, and knowing that my life's work is to encourage people and empower people to step out as their best authentic self. That's what Nurilens really represents. Our slogan is see through the lens of your purpose. And that's really that affirmation that your purpose is assigned to you, right? And it doesn't always look like a certain title. I think we like to focus on potential, right? Oh, I have the potential to be a doctor. I have the potential to be a CEO. I have the potential to be a mom, a dad, a girlfriend, boyfriend, friend, cousin, a program manager, an engineer, a lawyer, whatever it is, but the thing is, like, that's man-made. I could, my potential to be, I don't know, a manager, that does not disqualify my potential from me perhaps being a secretary or an engineer or whatever. But your purpose is really that overall objective that you achieve no matter what you look like. And so Nurilens represents that. When you put on these frames, you're really seeking to walk in your purpose, seeking to make an impact, and to also empower and encourage other people to step out as their best authentic self. So that's really how I got here, or how we got here. And now, we offer a nice collection of handcrafted wooden eyewear, and we're constantly growing and we're constantly evolving. So yeah, that's the story behind Nurilens.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to say though, I remember when my mother got word that you were going to Korea. Like she was giving it to me. Like, you're not going. Any ideas?
The brave Haitian
Yeah,
kid.
no, Juliette, you were. I was like, hey, she's a martyr for all of us. Thank you.
Who was brave enough to fly out halfway
Thank
across?
you.
And I mean, I think because we're home, like Haiti, it's in the Caribbean, right? So flying to Asia, it almost seems like a world away, right? It seems like a world away. So I think that was a lot of the feedback I got too. They're like, why are you going? who goes all the way to Asia?
Like you want to go to like Jersey?
Right.
Like,
go to Jersey. Go down the road.
Worst case, like Florida or something, but
not even California. Not even California.
No.
California is too far.
They'll send you
Florida.
Yeah.
And that's far enough.
So Fort Lauderdale.
The only reason why Florida passes is because it's one of the key cities in the United States for Haitians.
Yup, because they down there. They got a cousin's uncle, nephew down there that could keep track of you. But in Korea,
all bets are off. All bets are off.
Yeah, I appreciate
But anyway, that is the journey. What I want to know, though, from you, is what has the journey been like for you? Because when you came on the team, this was on the day, I think this is on the day we pre-launched.
Yeah, so I came on literally, it was like everything was on fire. It was like total mayhem. I was confused as what was going on. Juliette was like, hey, just do this. And I just saw everyone around me like running crazy. It was a mad scene. So I came on in pre-launch. It was on October, but then came like the huge sales from like Black Friday and like Christmas season, like that shopping time period, and it was just like booming, and my mind was like racing a lot. Trying to, it was a lot going on.
Intern.
Yeah. I was an intern at first, but overall, like in time, I kind of got the hang of it. But also, I think it kind of leveled out, and we got better as a company with managing the exposure and trying to figure out where we are, who we are, how our process works. Because there's no like test drive for having. There's no like we can't like do a mock draft or something like that to where we run through the motions and we're like, okay, we got an order. How are we gonna, it kind of just happened, and I came right before it started, and I'm glad I'm still here today. So thanks for keeping me on, Juliette.
Here today.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and that was it. I like your point of what you said. I think people don't realize that about starting a business. There is so much you can prepare for.
Yeah.
Especially for a startup, right? Something that you're a little new to, something that you don't have as much insight on. But the team had spent months, trying to define the customer journey. What's it going to look like from when the customer places the minute the customer places an order to the minute we deliver it to them. And then we launched. And we're like, nope, we're going to have to throw this whole playbook away. And really it was making a lot of adjustments. What we probably anticipated would have been the process. In many ways it was very different. So of course you have to adjust, and of course there's social media and there's pushing the product out. And when you're in a pre-order season and then you finally launch, now it's like, okay, now we need to push the product out. Yeah. So in addition with sales coming in from Black Friday and everything like that, to your point, that was another adjustment where it's like we're trying to get on our feet and we're launching in this time.
Yeah. But I think we handled it well. Looking back at it, it could have been worse. So
emphasis on could have been worse. So let me ask you this: what is something when you first joined? Of course, you joined, and for those who are listening, for context, Nurilens is a child company of Junuri. So it was essentially a team of people working to bring Nurilens to life. So this explains Karl coming in on our pre-launch date. But what I am interested in knowing from you, Karl, is what is something you didn't know then, a year and a half ago, that perhaps you know now?
So what the biggest thing I think I would say is that from the outside looking in, you don't realize how much work like running a small business is. It's like, oh, they're selling glasses, but just selling glasses isn't all that's happening. There's so many things behind the scenes that have to be in place for that process to work as seamless as it is. Like Sheilla praises
Hey
be to
Sheila.
her
Hey girl.
because like the way she can finesse that website when I'm like, oh, the PDs aren't loading properly, or this isn't transferring well, or something is going on when they're making their selections. Like all these things have to get fixed through. You know what I'm saying? You gotta iron those things out, and you can't ignore that part of the process. So I appreciate you for definitely being an example of like, hey, in all your roles, everybody like nitpick to make sure this is perfect because it's bound not to be, and we're gonna have to go back and fix it anyway. But like, put your best foot forward and put effort into trying to make sure we are doing our best job. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot happening that like the customer doesn't see, and if we're not doing this on this end, the whole everything you're looking at would crumble. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, shout out to Sheila, our brand strategist. I know I hate to admit this, but our website had to be built in a short amount of time, I'll say, at the last minute when we launched. And, I did what I could. And I think I had this vision of what a nice website would look like. And I remember when Sheila reached out to me, I think it was around launch day, and we had a call, and she's like, here are some of these recommendations I would have for your site, and so on and so forth. And in my head, I was kind of like, oh my goodness. In a slight way, I was kind of apprehensive because I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not fitting my vision of what I had in mind.
Yeah.
But what I really appreciated about Sheila was her way of conveying the recommendations and saying, okay, these are the great things I see about your site and about your brand, but here are some recommendations I would have. And I think that was what really opened opened up my willingness to say, you know what, I would love to have her on the team. And when I remember when she first showed us the prototype, I wasn't trying to, I was trying to keep my poker face, but God,
I remember
inside I
that
was
too.
like,
No,
yes,
it was amazing.
beautiful.
It was
Really
yeah,
beautiful.
no, but like I can understand, like I get that. It's like at first you're like, no, this company is my baby. I don't trust anybody with it, And Sheila, she has a great way of like convincing you that I will take care of it. Don't worry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
Like,
she delivers.
yeah, she delivers. She definitely does. I remember seeing. I was like, Juliette, I appreciate you for what you did on the site before, but this new site.
Like, and some people were like, oh my gosh, your site is nice. But it was the feedback. You can tell, it looks nice, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it was also the customer experience that came, the user experience that came in having this rebranded site, right? It was cleaner. You were able to find things easier. And that's something as well. We're constantly evolving and we're constantly growing and building the site.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to you, Sheila, and all that you do. And thank you. We surely appreciate all that you do. And we will be highlighting other members of the team because again, it's not just me and Karl.
Yeah, we got more episodes. Don't worry. You guys will all get your shout out.
We've got more for you.
Don't worry, Steven. Don't worry.
I'll just say from what I've learned, I think when you're running a business especially, it's not always about you. It's very much about what your customer wants. And I think coming in, I had one specific demographic in mind, and then it was very much a learning curve of rebranding and taking a step back and saying, okay, who is really purchasing our products and who's finding value in them? And so that took a lot of stepping back and being okay with it not always being what I envisioned in my head.
Okay.
But it also falling in line with what people want. And of course, with COVID and people now working from home and Zoom parties and so on and so forth, of course, the need, I don't want to say it changed, but it evolved, right?
Yeah.
That was one thing, a year and a half ago, perhaps I didn't keep it that much in mind. And now it's like, okay, what does the customer want? Who is our customer? What are they looking for? How do they respond to us? How do we reach them? So
I 100% agree. I think we came like when it first launched, it was like, okay, this is what we have to offer. But then you get all this feedback of like, oh, this is great, but can you add this, or what about these, and like what about, and it's like it's kind of a difficult thing to filter through, because it's like some things you want to take on, some things are like, maybe that's not the direction for the company. But yeah, I think that was also a good thing that we kind of learned as a company. Like, okay, we can cater to this because this is useful. This is very helpful for these customers. You know what I'm saying? From adding some wood polish, because we offer wooden frames. This is not something you see on the market that often, you know what I'm saying? So you can't just go to Walmart and be like, hey, optician, can I get some polish for my wooden frames? They're gonna look at you like, so
We don't have that right.
yeah, because we are a particular niche, I think it was important to kind of like definitely listen to that feedback. So also, if you're listening to this podcast and you like, hey, I got a great idea, I have some Nurilens frames, like send us your recommendation. We'll listen to anything. So yeah.
DM us, email us. We are here to serve you.
Yes, we are.
All right, now here's my favorite part of the podcast. Karl, seriously, be excited. You're not
preparing myself. I'm preparing myself. I'm ready. Mm-hmm.
Be excited. This is my favorite part.
Yeah.
One thing about, I'm pretty sure you're going to see our personalities reflect a lot in this podcast. I think for one, we are two introverted folks.
Yes.
But our quirkiness shows in different ways.
Yeah.
I love a good laugh. I love riddles. So I figured we should insert an eye joke into Karl. You don't look excited.
I'm ready. Listen.
I'm already laughing because I'm excited for the joke.
I just know this joke is gonna be bad, because like if you're laughing, it can't be a good joke. But I'm ready. If you're laughing at the joke already, it can't be a good joke. It's gonna be too easy. But
okay, so how do optometrists listen to music?
I don't know. Like everyone else?
iTunes. That was a good one.
I'm not laughing at the joke. I'm laughing at you laughing at the joke.
No, that was a good one.
Okay. Well, this is something she wants to do every episode.
And we will.
Yeah.
And we will. Y'all, you knew it was good. And if you have any eye riddles, please send them our way. We also want to hear your stories. What is your eye health care fail? What is the one thing that you probably did, but you probably shouldn't have done? Or that thing that almost could have been catastrophic. Share those with us, DM us, message us, and we'll share them on we'll share them on the podcast and talk about them.
Also, like and follow us on all socials as well.
All platforms.
Yeah.
And we're on like every platform that's a platform.
Everything. Yeah.
So like and follow us. All right. As we come to the end, again, thank you so much for tuning in. We are super excited for the conversations that we have. Again, if you have any feedback, feel free to give us 5 stars and let us know what you think through our social platforms, as well as through our website and via email. All right, everyone, be well and be safe.